take pleasure in what I'm getting ready to say. One of the things I've learned in 10 years of being here is I have a huge appreciation for those who sat here before me. It's very easy for, when I got here, I like to criticize everything that past councils did. And that wasn't right, because you understand after you get burned a couple of times that they do the best they can with what the information they have to work with. But the last 2 weeks, Eunice, you brought up history. You've brought up how things were done in the past. And for the sake of the voters, I think they need to know the other side of the history. Going back to 2012, and I go to 2012 because that's when I got here. Mayor and I started the same day. And for historical record, we had a fund balance of $500,000. In layman's terms, we were broke. There's no better way to say it, and I believe you were the treasurer at the time. We were broke. So we inherited a $500,000 fund balance, and also on top of it, let me go over a few other things we inherited that has led to why council makes some of the decisions we have now to where we don't get to that policy, at that position again. We inherited immediately a $1.7 million refund in machinery and tools taxes. It wasn't anybody here's fault to West Rock. It wasn't Kathy's fault. It wasn't, when BB wasn't here yet, but it wasn't our fault. It wasn't the treasurer's fault. It was nobody's fault except for the state legislature. We had $500,000 in the bank. We owed them $1.7 million. I'm not a mathematician, but something was lopsided. We inherited the Nettleton property. We didn't buy the Nettleton property. You weren't here when they bought it. And not long after we got on council, we were told it was going to take $7 million to renovate that property, with $500,000 in the bank. We inherited neglected infrastructure. Water lines, sewer lines, fire hydrants, and streets that had not been paved correctly, milled. We had some places that we're still dealing with now with 24 inches of paving built on top of each other. Or they just weren't addressed at all, i.e. Lincoln Avenue.
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest. There was a lot of things, and we've spent the last 10 years trying to catch that up and correct 20, 30 years worth of neglect. We inherited a landfill that in 2012 we were told had 15 years left on it. By 2015 we were told 3 years. By 2017 we were then told it had 6 months until it was full. And none of this that I'm saying here is secretive stuff. You know, in the sake of making sure that everybody knows what this council has dealt with in the last decade, I think everybody ought to know it. So we had to do what we thought was best to correct the landfill issue. And what we had to do was the best option and cheapest option for our residents. Now, this last one, our inheritance, this is my favorite, by far, and that's the depot. Does the public know that in 2043, if something doesn't change and a new agreement arises, we've got to tear that depot down? City Council in 2003 came up with an agreement with CSX that there would be a 20-year lease on the property. They sold us the building, so we do own that. And next year, I believe it is, we can renew that option for 20 more years, and at the end of that 20 years, those buildings have to be gone. How many millions did we spend and did the Historical Society get in grants to renovate that property? We inherited that. And I say that to say we started this tenure out. Should have been an indicator for us. Our first night was after the Derecho. We met him here in the dark. It may have been an omen of things to come. I don't know. People like Clyde, thank you for coming out tonight. We're going to get to an agreement with that. The lady that was here, Jennifer, thank you for your comments. I could go on and on and on about what this council inherited in 2012, and the only reason this city has survived, and I want to to say this to the city employees. Thank God some over here and pass the word along that's on live stream, Jerry. The only reason we survived from 2012 to today is every single city employee.
Amen.
From Public Works, to the Treasurer and Commissioner's Office, to the Police Department, to everybody, Central County, everybody in between. They had to work in the last decade, and we have scraped, and we have fought to get to where we're now, I think, roughly what, maybe 5.5, 6 million in fund balance now?
6 million plus.
Now, that is, and you're saying, oh my God, what a great amount of money it is. But we're constrained by, once we got in council and we had BB here, we came up with policies to where we wouldn't get back down to $500,000 in the fund balance again. We don't want to leave council in 2028 or 2035 or whatever it is, having to deal with this stuff again. So on behalf of council, and I have no problem. You want to give me heat, that's fine. I probably deserve it. Katie Selman will tell you I probably deserve more. She didn't say nothing. I had to drag her into it. For the last 10 years, the one thing that has saved us is city employees. So give us grief all you want to. But when people come out, and citizens' comments is great. That's what it's here for. But if we're going to have history lessons in here about how great it was back 30 years ago, I think the other side of the history needs to also be told of what our staff has had to deal with in the last 10 years. And I'll leave it there.
You sure?
I'm good, yeah. I'm good now.
You didn't mention disappearance of a landfill fund.
Oh yeah, landfill fund disappeared, it gone. We don't know where it went. So city employees that are here, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope they see it on the live stream and in other sources to know how much we appreciate it.
Yep.
You keep doing the good work and we'll still take the heat and give you all the credit. I think that's fair.
You finished?
I'm done now, yes.